Hello friends, good evening. Ajay T. Joseph here. In this video, I want to talk to you about a particular person who has made a difference in the lives of the tribals in the northeastern India. Many of you might be aware of him, but many of you do not. But one thing is very sure, that if you consider the tribes in the mainland as well as in the northeast, we see a sea of difference between the lifestyles of the tribals in the northeastern India and in the mainland. Because if you look into the mainland, if you look especially the hill tribes, you see their lifestyle is not in a good way compared to what it is in the northeast. And why is it so? Why is it why the northeastern tribals had an historical advantage? That's what we are going to discuss. For that purpose, I want to introduce to you to a person whose name is Verrier Elwin. Okay, if you can look into this book, like it has been written by this person called Verrier Elwin, and the book is known as Philosophy for NEFA. So first I'm going to explain what NEFA is. NEFA is Northeastern Frontier Agency. It's the earlier name for Arunachal Pradesh. So this person has a special relevance with respect to Arunachal Pradesh is because not only just because he has written about these books here, he is an anthropologist, so he has made a lot of studies among the tribals, and he was also the tribal advisor for Jawaharlal Nehru. So his philosophy for the tribals in Northeast has been instrumental in the formation of Panchasheel for tribals by Jawaharlal Nehru, and ironically both of them died in 1964. So what I am going to discuss is like what was his philosophy with respect to the NEFA, and how it was implemented in the Northeastern Frontier Agency and the Northeastern Hill Tribes, and what we can learn from this philosophy and how we can adopt it in the mainland tribes, especially the hill tribes. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll tell you his philosophy. His philosophy in what he's explaining in this book is very simple. That means, see, the tribes, we consider that the tribes have like aboriginal tribes, or they have to be civilized and made cultured. So what his ideology was like, see, you do not have to make them civilized or cultured or something like that. They have their own way of living. But if we superimpose our economy on the tribes, what they are going to become is like subservient peasants. Like, see, for example, they will become, they come at the bottom strata, so they will not be benefited from our economic imposition on them. That has been argued by Verrier Elwin. So what the government should do, the government should do in such a way that you give them certain amenities, you give them good roads, you give them good hospitals, dispensaries. So little by little the tribes will come out and they will become modernized, but without sacrificing their tribal identity. So that is what the tribals in Northeast has been successfully doing. So if you have the experience of visiting the Northeast, you can see like in any tribal festivals, you will be surprised to see that most of the people, like they will be coming in their SUVs, or they will be coming in their suits, in all modern clothes, but they will wear their traditional clothes, celebrate the festival and go back. So this celebration in their traditional clothes is their connection with their root. So they have not forgotten their root and they are very proud of their tribal identity. So it gave them a confidence. So that is one difference that we see in the tribes of Northeast and the tribes in the mainland. In the tribes in the mainland, if you see the tribes in Kerala, or you can see the Goan tribes in the central India, everywhere you can see that they somehow lost their roots. But at the same time, they are not modernized, they are somewhere in between. This is the dilemma that has been faced by the tribes in the mainland India, and this has been successfully done in the tribes of Northeast. So if you look into the tribes of Northeast, you see another important aspect also. Another important aspect is like the tribes in the Northeast have the political power. Either they are ruling it as a part of a state, or they have the autonomous councils. For example, the Khasi Autonomous Council or the Garo Autonomous Council, if you see it in Meghalaya. So if you have autonomous councils, what will happen? The fund will come through the central government, then it will come through the governor, and it is directly transferred to the tribes. Otherwise, you have tribal chief ministers elsewhere in states like Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland or Mizoram, where it's almost entirely tribal. So such states have made successful use of this philosophy in such a way that they were developed in a way that they did not lose contact with their roots. So that philosophy was very well adopted by Verrier Elvin. So don't just think that it was the only contribution to him. See, even when there were some tribal skirmishes between the tribes of Nefa and the Indian security forces, his role has been very instrumental in diffusing the situation. Let me tell you an example. In 1953, there was something known as the Aking Muru incident in the Upper Subansri, that's in Arunachal Pradesh, where the Tagin tribes of Arunachal Pradesh attacked a company of Assam Rifles and a lot of people were killed. So usually the tribals at that time hoped that there is going to be a huge retaliation by the Indian army. But the organization, the administration of Nefa, headed by Sri Jairam Das Daulatram, obviously with the advice of Mr. Verrier Elvin, they made sure that only the perpetrators were punished. So the entire tribal villages were not burned. So this was something new to the tribals. So little by little they began to be more close with the mainland. So this philosophy of engaging with the tribals by understanding their sensitivities was very, very importantly done in the Northeast. And at the same time, you have to understand that even at the time of British, there used to be the Inner Line Permit, the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act, where a specific place was given to these Nefa tribes within the constitution. Not within the constitution, that by which if a mainlander has to go there, they have to, even any outsider has to go there, they can go there, do their job and come back. They cannot own property, they cannot own land. Such situations are there. So it made sure that the tribal population is somewhat intact. So all these things made sure that the tribals were much more prosperous and at the same time they have the political power. So what if this philosophy is implemented in the tribals of the mainland? Look at the tribals of the mainland. Other than a few tribes like Minas, if you look at the majority of the hill tribes in the mainland, they are not in a very good position. If you look at Kurichias, Panir, Adir, Kadar, if you in Kerala, even Cholanayakar, and if you look at the central Indian tribes like the Goan tribes, Oravan tribes, you don't see them much better situation. And if you look into the tribes of Andaman and Nicobar, you can see the most primitive tribes in Andaman and Nicobar, the Jarawas, Onke, Sentinelese, Shompen, Andamanese, Nicobaris, mostly the Negroid and Mongoloid tribes, but most of them are not in a good position. But if you look into the tribes of the Nefa, where in Arunachal you can see, in the western part of Arunachal you can see the Buddhist tribes like Monpa, Shadukkan, Akkad tribes, and if you look into the central area, you find the Tani tribes like Galo, Adi, Nishi, Apatani, Memba, Mishmi tribes, and if you look into the areas closest to the Nagaland, you find the Naga tribes like the Wangcho, Nokte, Tangsa. And if you look into the Naga, obviously the Naga is a conglomerate of around 16 tribes. And some Nagas are also present in the Manipur area. And the southern part of Manipur, you find the Kuki tribes, and in the areas of Lushai Hills, that is Mizoram, is where you find an umbrella of tribes under the Mizo name. So all of these tribes, compared to whatever the tribes I was saying about the mainland or in the Andaman and Nicobar, most of them are well off. There are a lot of IAS officers, lot of PhDs. Many are good politicians also. Like if you can say, even our youngest Union Minister Akata Sangma, she's from Garo tribe, West Garo Hills. So if you look into the tribes of Northeast, they were much benefited because of him. And you have to understand this person, Verrier Elvin. Verrier Elvin came to India as a Christian missionary. He was a missionary, but lately he was very much interested in the Gandhian Swaraj and the Gandhian politics. And he was excommunicated by the church. So lately he married a Gond tribal woman, but lately during around 1940s and 50s, he was working in the northeastern region and he got a lot of information about the tribes of the Northeast. That is why around in 1950s he wrote this book. So this book is a treasure house of knowledge when it comes to how to know the northeastern tribes, what is their nature and what is the philosophy that the government has to adapt to the northeastern tribes. So even in this, after 50 or 60 years down the line, we see the development made in the northeastern region. So what I wanted to say is like why we should not, or why we are just limiting it to Northeast. Why can't we adopt the same philosophy to the tribes in central India, some tribes in the south India, where they are still being exploited by the politicians because they do not have the political power. If you are actually seeing the movie called Buddha in a Traffic Jam, there is one dialogue in it. It says like जब तक ये ट्राइबल्स के हाथ में पैसा आएगा उसी टाइम पे सारे का सारा आइडियोलॉजी खत्म हो जाएगा. So it's mostly they are talking about Maoism. If you look into all the central Indian or the south Indian tribal areas, there is an issue of left-wing militancy in the form of Maoism. Why? Because the tribals are getting exploited. At the same time, they do not have a political say. They do not have the education like that you find in northeastern tribes. And this vacuum is being clearly used by the Maoists and the Naxalites. So this can also be very well avoided if such a philosophy has been adopted there. And I hope there would be someone like Verrier Elvin who can come there. And you do not need a missionary like him. This can be done by the state itself. But you have to understand about this book, and you have to understand and adopt this philosophy when it comes to the mainland hill tribes. So even when you look into the PCS exams, like even in the Arunachal, everywhere you can see 1 or 2 questions regarding this person. So it's not only from the academic point of view. I also want to tell about this philosophy, what he is intending through this book. It can be a good eye-opener for people like us when we consider the sea of difference between the standard of living when it comes to the mainland tribes and the northeastern tribes. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you. And please do subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thank you all.